Today's segment of Sound Balming is brought to you by Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Body Care. I cannot express to you how much we love their products. Although we use them all year, as the weather gets colder, we need these products even more. The dreaded drop in temperature, the dryness, the itchiness, and the unnecessary flakiness is inevitable. Shea butter from Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Body Care is the only thing that works for my skin and hair needs. Not only do these products cure my dry skin, the whipped butter goes on smoothly and doesn't leave that uncomfortably thick, sticky residue. Bonus? It smells absolutely amazing. There are so many different scents to choose from too. Not only do they carry skincare products, there are products for authentic living, face, shower, hair and beard, spritzers and perfumes, and bath products. Let me tell you, we cannot even keep the stuff in the studio. The entire production team as well as all our children use Jimmy and Mary's product. Jimmy and Mary's take pride in creating quality, handcrafted products from simple ingredients for the entire family. Their products are made for all skin types and are 100% handmade, 100% vegan, and 100% cruelty-free. Skincare is important. Moisture is key, and keeping our skin and hair hydrated is essential. I cannot emphasize how much we trust Jimmy and Mary's for all of our skincare needs. Hurry on up to jimmyandmarys.com and check out their products. Did I mention service is fast and efficient too? Don't forget to mention that you heard about Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Skincare on Sound Balming. Use the discount code SOUNDBALM20 to get 15% off. That's SOUNDBALM20 for 15% off at Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Skincare.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sound Bombing. I created this show for people who want to experience a radical, life-changing journey through the sounds of my diverse guests. I hope that each sound you hear on this show will strengthen your faith, encourage your dreams, and challenge you to awaken the greatness within you.
Drop the bombs. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Lamar Darnell Shields.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the time of the day is. Yes, I am shining bright. The lights are on me, showing off our new brand. I create and also rocking my sound bombing gear. So if anybody wants to pick it up, you can definitely pick it up. But I'm so excited that you're hanging out with me. Today, I just decided I wanted to rock a hat. I wanted to wear some of the branding stuff. And I'm so excited about my next guest. But before I get to my guest who's sitting there patiently waiting and excited about being here, I want to just thank all of you for taking some time to hang out with me today. Like Jay-Z said, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you decided to hang out with me today. I want to thank my last guest, Barbie Doll. Yes, that is her real name, Barbie Doll, and she is a medium. She is a seer. People use the word psychic, and she blew my mind so much that I decided to take her class on intuition, and I'm enjoying it. So shout out to Barbie Doll if you are following the show. Amazing show. And then the show prior to that, we rebroadcasted the show highlighting the great singer Donny Hathaway, who on this yesterday in New York City jumped from a building in New York City. Donny Hathaway, a great soul singer, an amazing artist, committed suicide because he was dealing with depression. He was a manic depressant. He was schizophrenic. He had all these issues, but he was a beautiful soul. So shout out to Donny Hathaway and his daughter who's still living. One of his daughters, Layla Hathaway. So let's get down to business, because you're looking at that person who's sitting right next to me, waiting to be introduced. Who is that? Her name is Kamini Wood. She is the founder and CEO of Love Joy, Your Way, and the Authentic Me RiseUp program. An international best-selling author, Kamini is driven to support people of all ages heal the relationship within themselves and to stop outsourcing self-worth. Her clients become more than confident, resilient self-leaders with a healthier relationship. Kamini is a certified life coach, board certified by the American Association of Drugless Practitioners, holds specialty certification in conscious uncoupling, new money story, and teen life coaching. Also trained in conscious parenting, Kamini aims to meet her clients where they are, supporting and guiding them on their journey to where they want to be, both personally and professionally. And she shared with me that if you hear some background noise, she has two amazing pets that may want to come in and hang out with us on the show. But you know, this show, nothing surprises me. So many people just pop up into the Sound Bombing studio physically, and some people pop into the virtual studio. So Kamini Woods, welcome to Sound Bombing. Let my listeners know how you are doing and let us know where you are calling in from.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here. I am based in Cary, North Carolina, which is right outside of Raleigh. Originally from Connecticut, but I am now in North Carolina.
Connecticut. So you left the cold to go to some warm environments. Let me just tell you, if you've never been to Connecticut, Connecticut is really, really close to New York. So it gets really, really cold. I love Connecticut. Beautiful in the fall. I love all the seasons that come through there, but I'm sure you probably like North Carolina, right?
I was going to say, I miss the 4 seasons, but I certainly don't miss all the snow because I'm also, not only do I have the 2 dogs, I have 5 kids. And so dealing with all of that winter gear, not so much fun.
5 kids, 2 dogs, North Carolina, all of this work. How do you, before we get into you pouring into other people, Kamini, talk to us about how you take care of yourself, because a lot of times I bring people on the show who are life coaches like yourself or who are teaching us about brain hacks. And I always want them to share what are they doing to take care of themselves, because quite often we're telling all these other people what they should be doing. So what are some of your personal secrets to handle 5 dogs, 5
kids?
That's 7. I'm doing some math right here. So how do you take care of yourself and your well-being?
So I am committed to the mornings. I get up in the morning before anybody else, and that's my time. That's my workout time. That's my meditation time. That's when I refill before my day starts. And then in the evening, I take some time before I go to bed and make sure that I have some quiet time. Again, reflection on my day. I used to actually not do the evening routine. I only had the morning routine. And I realized for my own personal well-being, bookending it with that morning and the evening was how I could make sure that I had restful sleep and was able to fill myself back up in order to serve wholly the next day.
So talk to me about routines. I love routines. I always say you win the morning, you win the day. I just shared this with some teachers yesterday who are dealing with some personal challenges. Of course, you being a mom, having kids being in class virtually, having kids maybe go to school, just a whole lot going on. So I share with them some very, very specific strategies. Can you walk us through some of your morning strategies that you've used to help you win the day? Because like I know, people are stressed out. People are burned out. They're dealing with anxiety. They're dealing with election issues. They're dealing with racial unrest. They're dealing with lack of financial resources. They're still waiting for their stimulus check. Folks are dealing with COVID, so many things. Give us some of the specific strategies that you use, and then that you also may share with some of the clients that you're working with.
Well, the first thing that I talk about with my clients is recognizing that things have shifted, right? So I used to have a routine that was my routine pre-COVID, and now it's about recognizing it's not focusing on, I can't wait to get back to what that was. It's coming to this acceptance of I'm here now, and then figuring out a routine that works for me now. So to your point, I have 3 of my kids are in what they call pods. So they go to school twice a week, and then they're home virtually for 2 days. And there's an asynchronous day in there. I've got one child who's virtual all the time. And then I've got one child who's technically not a child. She's an adult. She's a professional ballerina, but she's dealing with her own issues with being on layover from the company being shut down because of COVID. So what I've had to do is create a new routine and also give myself the grace to know that that routine may shift. but it is so important to come up with, the weekly routine. So as a family, for instance, we go through and figure out what's on everybody's schedule. And then each of us comes up with a plan for how we're going to deal with each day. I personally keep a structured routine of every morning. I get up the same way. I get ready as though I'm going to work, because that puts me in the mindset that I'm not just at home, but I'm actually working. And it puts me in the frame of mind to, when I show up on these calls with these clients, I am there to support them fully and wholeheartedly. Same with my kids. I really encourage them to have a routine of getting up in the morning, taking that shower, getting dressed, in order to be in that frame of mind that I'm at school right now. Even though I'm physically in my home, I'm still doing quote unquote work. I'm doing my schoolwork. And I do feel that it's so important to have that structure, because then at the end of the day, equally important to say my day has ended. And even though I'm still in my home, I'm leaving work and I'm going back into my family life. Otherwise, without those boundaries in place, it's very difficult to have everything mesh together. And then you don't have that self-care time. You don't have that ability to emotionally connect, for instance, with your family, because you're still stuck in work mode. So it's just, I tell my clients that especially with COVID and working from home, it's so important to have the boundaries as well as the structure to your day.
So you talked about boundaries, you talked about routines. What role do rituals play in setting boundaries and also in maintaining your routines?
So I do think that rituals play a role. I think the thing that we sometimes struggle with as humans is we get stuck in our rituals and we don't give ourselves enough room to change those up, right? That's when the anxiety happens, where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z. And it's really giving yourself the ability to have that self-compassion, where it's, okay, something shifted in my day. For instance, with virtual school, my daughter may be having a rough day. I may have this pattern and practice of this is how my day is supposed to operate, but something happens in her day. And it's really just recognizing, okay, I'm this spiritual being having this human experience. I'm doing the best I can with whatever's coming at me, giving myself that grace as well as learning, right? So for instance, I've learned through this virtual schooling of, maybe having certain things printed out beforehand, or going through her day very calmly and succinctly right before she starts her day, avoids the quick drama that happens, where it's like she doesn't know what she's supposed to be doing, and then that upends my day. But it's very important, yes, have the rituals, but also have space to shift if needed. Have that ability to be kind to yourself.
So at what point in your work does mommy and coaching clash? And do your children and your significant other, do they ever see mommy and coaching clashing? Do they look at you and say, Mom, I'm not one of your clients, Mom. Mom, I'm not the lawyer that you're working with that lives down the street. Mom, I am your daughter. I am your daughter who's a ballerina, who's struggling because the company, Mom, please turn it off. Talk to me about when you have to really set those boundaries, and maybe share a time when mommy and coaching clashed.
Yeah, I actually really love that question, because my 17-year-old son right now he wants to play lacrosse in college. And so he's right at that point where recruiting, getting in front of those coaches, super important. And you're going to hear my dog. I told you might hear him.
This is a hot conversation. So what they're saying to Kamini, they said, listen, make sure you ask her a question about at what time does she stop life coaching and then working out and hanging out with us? When does that clash as well?
Right. So with him especially, I've had to really be conscious and aware of, this is a moment for me to just be mom, for me to just be there, to be that, to give that hug, or to just listen to him have his drama moments, right? It's not about me coming in and saying, can we think about this differently? Where's the growth edge here? Or, maybe we could shift the thought process here. And those are, because as a coach, one of the things that I do is really just help my clients challenge the thoughts that they're having. Can we look at this differently? As moms, sometimes you just have to show up in love. And so there's been moments. And what I love about my family is they call me on it. They'll say, hey, Mom, I just need you to be here. And that's just I instantly know, okay, I just need to just not really say anything, but just love.
Walk me through what's going through your mind at that moment. So your child is talking to you, and what is your mind saying to you in that moment? Because I remember, and sometimes it's hard for me to turn it off. Yeah. It's really, really hard. I remember, going to the airport, being rushed to the airport, and I was late getting to the airport, and I was like, I screamed at my son. He's like, well, calls me Baba, which means father in Swahili. He says, Baba, I don't think that this is the person that they want to hear on stage talking about positive thinking and positive affirmation. I don't think this is the person that they want to hear. And he called me out on it. He was only like 7 years old. So walk me through what's going through your mind, and then how do you sort of turn that off? Because I know, talking to my children, we have a ritual that we do every Sunday. We do our prayer and meditation, and we unpack a lot of things. And so quite often it's this time when I'm trying to turn it off, and I just want to be there. But in the back of my mind, Kamini, that world, all those classes that I've taken, all that research that I've collected, all the conversation I've had is like, say it. This is just so-and-so. Say it. Right. So what's going through your mind, but then how do you turn it off? Because there's some kids who, one, need to hear it, and there's some parents who need to hear it as well.
So it's very interesting, because you're absolutely right. It is that training that's going on in the back of your mind. And I think the conversation that's happening for me is, I will quickly hear victimhood, right? I'll quickly hear the self-deprecating talk. And immediately the instinct for me is, it's the self-compassion. It's the recognizing that you are doing the best you can, or, how can you take your power back? Because when we're victims, we can't change anything. It's how do we own the dynamic that we're in, and how do we choose to show up? Because especially when we're stuck in victimhood, we come from that disempowered place, and any decision we make keeps us in that negative space. So the instinct is, how can I give my child how can I help them reframe it? How can I help them see this from a different way? See what is their next best step forward? And the thing that happens, and that's why I love when my kids call me on it, because immediately I realize, oh, I just need to be present. And this is a moment to just actually be quiet and just take in the feelings that they're having, allow them to have their feelings. I don't need to absorb them, but I need to allow them to have the space to have their feelings. And it's really just about projecting love and compassion in that sense, not about how can we look at this differently, recognizing that in a little bit of time, we can shift to that. But in this moment, they just need to have their emotions, and that's okay. It's just being present in the moment. And that's been something that's been difficult for me, because I'm also I'm a people pleasing person. I'm recovering perfectionist, but I also love to I love to hold that space to help fix it. How can we move forward from this place? We don't need to stay in this place. So it's been a challenge, but it's been my growth zone, right? In those moments, it's just be present, just be.
I like a word that you talked about. Well, I don't really like it, but it's a word I want to unpack. You talked about victimhood. I want to connect victimhood to this concept of self-worth. As I was researching you and watching some of your talks, you talk about self-worth. What do you mean by ending the outsourcing of our self-worth?
What I mean by that is with the social atmosphere, even in familial relationships, we consistently look outside of ourselves for validation, or are we okay? And my mission is really to help people recognize that they no longer need to outsource that. It all needs to be self-sourced. When we heal that relationship with self, when we can self-source who we are, what we stand for, and really own our uniqueness, and recognize that uniqueness is what is the gift to the world. We don't need to be a carbon copy of somebody else. It's the uniqueness that makes the world as colorful as it is and as dynamic as it is. And so it's really, my mission really is to stop that outsourcing. It's about letting go of those external validations, letting go of living to those external expectations, and really own who we are, and let that shine into the world. Really let that be the light.
And I love mission-driven people, and you're using all the right words. That is your mission. I now want to unpack not just the mission, but the process. Walk my listeners through the step of how you then do that. So you're on a mission to help people shift the outsourcing of their self-worth. How does Kamini do that in her work? And then also, how have you done it in your own personal growth? Because the reality is, I tell people this all the time. It's hard for me to separate who I am from what I do. So a lot of what I do are things that were done to me, maybe in a good way, in a bad way. I want to unpack that and shift it in a different direction. Walk us through how you do that.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I would not be able to do the work that I do with the passion that I have if I didn't have to walk this walk myself. So, and I'll start there and then walk you through it. So my whole journey I grew up, like I said, I grew up in Connecticut, small town, name like Kamini, very predominantly white town. I stuck out, definitely took on a feeling of maybe not belonging, or that I needed to prove my worth and prove that I belong. So again, that's where like the people pleasing started. And it's not.
You stepped out because you're from India. Your family's from India, correct?
Yes. So I'm first generation American. My parents came to the States when they were in their teens. My sister and I, they settled in Connecticut. My sister and I grew up there. So, it wasn't that it was traumatic by any sense, but the messages that I received as a kid in different instances, for instance, having a substitute teacher who really struggled with my name, and it became this shining light in the classroom of, oh, how different Kamini is. Those are just little, messages that I took in as a young child and carried them through, right? So subconsciously, my false center was I needed to prove my worth, or I needed to please others in order to belong. So you take that into adulthood, and then and what ended up happening for me personally is like I mentioned, I have 5 kids, started seeing my kids emulate that people pleasing behavior and really deferring to making others happy before themselves. And it was sort of my wake up call to say, oh, wow, they're getting that from me. If I don't work on this and shift it, this is just going to repeat for generations. So I've done my own work. I've walked this walk. And that's why I feel so not only passionate about it, but I also feel confident in my ability to help others go through this as well. So how do I do it? It's really about understanding what those false centers are. Because when we can become aware of something, we can then accept that it's there, but then we can take aligned action to move through it. It's not about making it bad. It's not about shoving it aside and pretending it doesn't exist. It's about accepting that it's there, but then making this conscious choice of that served me for the purpose that it did. It can now get into the passenger seat. I'm going to live into this new way of showing up. And then it's about how do we shift that mindset? How do we change behaviors when we're triggered? What do we do in order to shift into a more empowered place? And so that my work is really focused on taking a client from this reactive state, because when we're in those false centers, we're just reacting. We're stuck in this reactivity state. It's about stepping into this more empowered place and being generative. What do we want to do? How do we want to live into the vision we have for ourselves?
Now, talk to me about some of the clients that you work with. Who are the type of people that call on you, Kamini, for support? And what are some of the questions that they're asking? And then what are some of the benefits that you're discovering from working with some of your clients? Not only just the benefits for them, but also what are the benefits that you're gaining from this entire experience?
So that's a really great question, because, when you first start out your coaching business, most people say, pick your niche, right? You're going to focus on one set of people. And I think that's how I started off, but it's very interesting to see how my practice has unfolded. I work with a handful of what I refer to as young adults, between the ages of 26 to like 32, 33. They're going through what I would refer to as like the quarter life. What do I do? Where is my vision? I'm sort of recognizing that how I've been living my life has been to those external stories. And so the work that I've been doing with them is really understanding who they are. What are their passions? What are their values? And really letting go again of those false beliefs about themselves. And then I have another set of people that I work with, which are my more mature adults, right? Where they've gone through that whole process and they get to their 40s and they're like, oh my goodness, I'm still struggling with being able to move forward in my career. And so they originally will say, oh, I think I need a career coach, but really it's the relationship with self. How do they see themselves? Are they even visible to themselves? And when we're able to really help them see themselves, they start propelling just amazing amounts in terms of their business. Their business just propels. Like, for instance, I've worked with realtors who were just struggling to really, build that clientele. And then suddenly, after working together for 2 to 3 months and that reset, their business has just totally taken off. And then, of course, there's a third sect where I'm a teen life coach too. So I work with those teenagers who are, they're high achievers. They've got the stressors, they've got the social stress, the academic stress, the family stress. And it's, really helping them. Again, it's about how do we self-source? How do we help them create a basis of who they are, so that when they go to college, it's not about making others happy. It's about living into what they want for themselves.
And what are some lessons that you're learning from some of the clients that you're working with? And is there like a similar theme or similar message that you're getting from all the ages that you're actually working with?
Yeah, the similar theme is safety. Creating safety within oneself is really where it's at, right? When we feel safe within ourselves and we're not trying to access safety outside of ourselves, that's really gold. And that's really been the common theme. What I get out of the work that I do and what I'm learning from these clients is truthfully, it goes back to even what my mission is. It's about how unique each of us are and that there isn't one way. Like most people will say, well, what's your process? It's not one process for every client because we are so unique. So we're going to process things in different ways. And that's what I'm really learning and really truly embracing is that each person is so individualistic. And that's where, I think that's honestly, if as a common human race, we can recognize that and we stop trying so hard to be like the next guy, we get to really, I think the world would actually blossom in so many different ways because that's truly where the gold is. Our own uniqueness is where the gold is.
Now, I know you have tons of certifications. You've worked with tons of clients, but I want to talk to you about conscious uncoupling. Yeah. Explain to my listeners what conscious uncoupling is.
So conscious uncoupling is about healing from the heartbreak, right? But healing from the heartbreak from your own self, because what happens when relationships don't work out, we make a meaning of it, right? We make a meaning of it about ourselves. But further than that, we also tend to want to stay in victimhood where it's, oh, this happened to me.
Are you talking about we create this story, we add characters, we add all those things? When you say we make a meaning to it, are you talking about we make a story, we develop a story out of it?
We make a meaning of ourselves, right? There's something wrong with me or I'm not good enough. So part of it is recognizing, the relationship may have not worked out. We own a part in the dynamic. Let's understand that. Let's own that. But let's not create a story in our own minds about how we're not good enough, right? So it's about really recognizing we can heal from that relationship. We don't have to repeat the same patterns again and again. Because what I see over and over again is that people will come to me and they'll say, I just keep dating the wrong person. I seem to continually call in a narcissistic person. And then I get hurt over and over again. Well, that's really, again, goes back to that relationship with self. How are you seeing yourself? How do you respect yourself? Do you trust yourself? How do you speak to yourself? So conscious uncoupling is about really healing, those parts of yourself in order to then fully heal from the dissolution of the relationship.
What excites you about the work that you do, Kamini?
What excites me about all the work that I do is when and one of my clients actually sent me a journal entry after we completed our work together. And she was sharing in that journal entry about how she was spiraling and stuck and constantly looking outside of herself and just had no direction. And then she made the choice to work with me. And she said in that journal entry that she almost doesn't recognize herself because she now sees the power that she is. And she's no longer afraid to step into what it is that she wants. She's no longer afraid to voice what her feelings and needs are. That excites me so much when people can really see that they matter and that they don't have to defer their feelings and their needs in deference to somebody else, that they don't have to dim their light. When they recognize that by shining their light, they actually create more light for others. Rather than when they dim their light, it's nobody can really see. Those are those moments that I live for. When when I have that client who calls me up or texts me and says, I just closed, 3 homes when, 60 days ago, she could barely get on the phone with people because she was afraid of them saying no to her. It's just amazing because what that really is anchored into is she sees herself. She saw herself and that enabled others to see her too.
So speaking of seeing yourself, I want to go back to an early part of the conversation that we had. So you are first generation Indian. You grew up in Connecticut. You're a little brown girl in Connecticut amongst white faces. When you look at where you are right now, Kamini, and if you can go back and say something to that little brown girl amongst all of those white faces in Connecticut with all the things that you were dealing with, what would you say to yourself about where you are right now?
What would I say to myself about where I am right now? I would say, first of all, I'd tell her, the younger version of me, that you are beautiful and you are perfect just the way you are. You need not, prove your worth to anybody. That would be number one. That'd say to her. And then I would let her know hold on, because all of this that you're going through, this is going to lead you on the journey to help others. So I truly believe that everything that I experienced, even those moments of feeling bad or not good enough, those were things I had to go through so that I could be here today to work with the people that I get to work with.
I love that. Now I want you to talk to my audience about those are the things that I had to go through, because quite often when I think about some of the speakers that I've been around, one of them is Tony Robbins, Les Brown, great people. I remember Les Brown would always say, why me? Why me? And then he would say, well, would you want this to happen to somebody else? How bad do you want this to happen to somebody else? Talk to me about owning the things that we go through so then they can make us better. Because I think when we're in the stuff, if we were outside, I wouldn't say the stuff. When we're in the stuff, we don't really understand the value until we come out of the stuff. So let's talk about that right now. Those people that are in the stuff, I want you to come real close, because Kamini is going to give you some very specific things you can do right now. When you're in it, I heard you say you understand and own those things, that it's not going to be this way all the time. Well, my listeners, they're in it, Kamini, and they don't want to be in it. Help them get out of not only just help them to get out of it, let them know what they need to do when they're in it, the lessons that they can learn from being in this.
Well, the first thing that I would say is when you're in it, and Brené Brown talks about this, there's strength and vulnerability. It's really recognizing who is your support system that you trust, and recognizing that it's okay to ask for support, because other people have gone, and this is the basis of self-compassion, right? It's one of the tenets of self-compassion, that there's this common humanity, that there are people who have had similar experiences, and we can call on them to share what we're going through. And then we can take information and learn from what they have gone through as well. The other part of it is when you're in it, it's really anchoring into, and I use power statements all the time, because when you're in it, it's tough. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like when I'm in the middle of that craziness, there are moments where you feel disempowered and you're triggered into that old false center of I'm not good enough, or, this is terrible, or I don't belong. It's about anchoring into that power center. Some of us have those statements that we anchor into, and we recognize like it's not going to be forever. And it's about taking those moments of looking for those nuggets of gratitude, right? Those nuggets, even if they're the smallest thing that we can anchor into to say, this is a positive, or this is something I've learned, or this is what I'm learning in this even moment of time. It's those little nuggets that add up that allow us to gain the strength to live through what's happening. And it's not about, and that's why I say live through it, because we're not trying to get away from something. It's about, because there is no perfection. And I can say this as a recovering perfectionist, there's no perfection. It's about consistently evolving and growing. So if we can anchor into that, even in those toughest times, we may not know the reason that we're going through something, but if we can anchor into just those little pieces that we're learning along the way and be grateful for those things, be grateful for the fact that we're showing up each day. So grateful for self, grateful for our support system when we have those people around us, that those pieces of gratitude will help move us through what it is that we're going through.
I heard you say power statement. What are power statements? And do you have any power statements that you can share with my listeners?
So I usually take my clients through an exercise because I have them create their own power statement. It needs to resonate. It needs to, almost make your own hair stand up when you say it to yourself, because that's when you know it's yours, right? It's the way that I look at affirmations too. We can say affirmations, but unless they're ours, we don't truly embrace it. We don't, from that somatic sense, we don't really live into them. But what I mean by power statements is it's about, again, becoming aware of maybe what that false center is, then really asking ourselves, what is truer? What do we know to be true? And then creating, that power statement or that anchoring statement of what is actually true about us. So I have a few, one that I use routinely is I am safe. I mean, that may sound like a silly power statement, but for me, internal safety is huge. Reminding myself, I don't need to access safety from anywhere external. I can create my own safety within myself. So in moments where I feel really triggered and I need to anchor into that, it's I am safe, I am okay, I'm enough. Some of my clients have come up with ones that have been around just self-worth. So in those moments where they're triggered into feeling like they're not good enough, it's about recognizing that I'm exactly who I am meant to be. And, I'm living the life that is meant for me. So it's really about recognizing what that false center is, asking ourselves what's actually true or what is truer, and then creating that one that resonates with ourselves.
Well, Kamini Woods, it has been a pleasure talking and hanging out with you. But I know my listeners want more. They want more because my listeners are greedy and they want more. So I like to give them what they're asking for. How can my listeners get in contact with you?
My website is kaminiwood.com. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram with the same handle. It's AuthenticMe.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, before you get out of here, the second part of the show is called the Super Bomb Questions, and they're brought to you by Mountain Made. Now, these are some different questions. And the different part of this is I'm going to ask them, and I need you to respond as quickly as possible. Kamini, are you ready?
I'm ready. Hopefully I have answers.
Easy for you. Here we go. The first one is easy because you're always talking about words. What's your favorite word?
Spirit.
What's your favorite quote, scripture, Bible verse, or a lyric to a song?
Oh, my favorite quote is, life is happening through us and for us, not to us.
What's your superpower?
Ooh, empathy.
What's your spirit animal?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I'm going to say a cow. And I know that's a little odd.
A cow. Okay.
I can explain it if you want me to. So apparently I've learned about cows that they are very into their family, and they really hold their family in high regard, and they will pretty much do anything in order to secure the safety of their family. And that's kind of where my heart is. So
what brings you to tears of joy?
Oh my gosh, just being with my children and seeing them do what they love.
What brings you to tears of sorrow?
Loss.
What do you wish you had more time to do?
Wish I had more time to read.
What is the book, right on time, or books you've given most as a gift, and why?
I've given Mastery. Mastery is the book that I've given most because it's the one that I feel reminds us that it's not about perfection. It's about living into what we can do to our best ability.
What values do you live by every day?
Honesty.
What guides your heart?
Love.
If you were in the Mrs. America talent competition, Kamini Woods, what would your talent be?
Ooh, that is a really hard one. I don't know that I have great talents for the Miss America pageant. Oh gosh. Listening. I don't.
I want all my listeners to listen to you. Kamini Woods, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you today. You opened my eyes, and I'm sure my listeners were writing and taking notes. So thank you for hanging out with me today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And I also want to thank my engineer, Alexander Blunt, my super duper producer, Get Well, Nicole Klempaka, Supremacy for our theme music, and all of you for listening. We cannot do this without you. If you want to know more about me, go to drdrlds.com. If you want to get some merchandise here and here, you can find that there as well. And as always, believe that something wonderful is about to happen, but some people miss the message because they're too busy looking for the mess, but not you. Thanks for tuning in, and go out and do something for someone other than yourself today. You've been listening to Sound Bombing. Peace.
Mountain Made is changing the CBD game by offering a line of high-dose CBD tablets at an affordable price. Their products are THC-free and third-party tested for accuracy, cleanliness, and potency. Their products, which ship nationwide, include Build for CBD saturation, Boost for precision titration, and Recover for rest and rehab. With 9 years experience in hemp and fitness, Mountain Made's founders are focused on creating a quality product to help those who live an activated lifestyle. Check out mountainmade.life. Again, that's mountainmade.life to find out more about how their products can help you crush life. Remember, their products ship nationwide. Go check out their website today and follow them on social media at Mountain Made. That's the @ MNTMADE. Our staff at Sound Bombing uses Build before a morning workout, which helps to push our bodies to a whole new level on a daily basis. Try Build, try Boost, try Recover. Our staff is using these products to enhance our active lifestyle naturally, and we are crushing life with Mountain Made CBD, and you can too. Start today by going to mountainmade.life and ordering Build, Boost, Recover, or the multitude of other products that they have which will enhance your lifestyle. I promise you, you won't regret it.